Hey everyone, thank you for joining. We're gonna start in about a minute or two. We're just waiting for other people to join. Thank you. All right, let's give it another minute and then we can start the session. All right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and kick off this webinar. Just want to make sure that everybody can hear me and see my screen appropriately. If you guys could, someone just type in the chat if possible that all is well, then I can go ahead and start this. Okay. All seems to be well. All right, let's go ahead and kick off this session. Well, thank you for joining everyone. On today's webinar, we're going to be talking about the Softrip Automations and how Softrip can actually help your business when it comes to gaining efficiencies and getting rid of a lot of the redundancies within your business possibly, right? So before we dive into it, I want to go ahead and start talking about the format of this webinar. So this webinar is going to take anywhere, just so you know, this is being recorded. And after this session, we will go ahead and upload this to our YouTube channel so you can have access to it and watch the content again if you desire to do so. The length of the session is going to be anywhere from 30 to 35 minutes. And then we're going to have a session for some question and answers. While we're doing this, I'll be reviewing with you on this webinar about some of the articles that we have to provide a little bit more content behind it. We will be providing those links to you as well. So that being said, let's go ahead and start diving into this. So when it comes to Softrip automations, we like to put this into 6 different type of categories. And these categories can be defined as user action automations, some of the calculations that takes place automatically within the system. whether it's your reservation system or content being displayed on your invoice. On top of that, we do have some content such as destination specific or product specific content to automatically appear, along with your regular terms and conditions or type of verbiage that you offer in different places within Softrip. On top of that, we can go ahead and talk about reservation notifications, meaning that we provide appropriate types of warnings either during the booking journey or post-booking journey to notify the users and your guests about certain actions that may require a little bit more attention. The business automation is items such as that, hey, we're trying to chase after certain types of information from your guests and some other types of notifications to let them know about some of their obligations towards, let's say, payment due, or also maybe they need to provide you some critical information for their upcoming trip. Now, there's another category called procedures, and we're not going to talk about this on this webinar because those are basically automations that Softrip handles for data cleansing and updates. That's not going to be within this session. Now, a lot of this content that we have here is within the reach of your users, your administrators, to go ahead and control and update these automations too. So in our Product Next platform, we have updated our booking rules area to make the interaction of these rules a lot more easier and give you the ability to control a lot of that content. So first thing that we're going to be discussing is we're going to start tackling what we call the user action automations. And what this means is basically that automations based on user actions within a reservation where the system can create a memo to notify internal staff or add reservation to a queue to notify your guests. These are event-driven rules, we call them. And what this does is basically, if a reservation is created, right, and we can automatically create a memo to a specific user, for example, to let them know that, hey, this reservation should go to maybe some sort of a quality control before we send out an invoice, right? Or we can go ahead and create an event-driven action when a first payment is made on a reservation that the system can go ahead and add that reservation to a specific invoice queue and notify the guest that, hey, you made a payment, therefore, here's your updated invoice accordingly. And there are a number of areas that we can dive into here that we have provided different types of scenarios that would help your business to automate a lot of these actions. On top of that, we also do provide what we call the groups status changes events, which allows you to go ahead and notify your internal staff when you're running, let's say, custom itineraries, custom groups, that based on the product status changes, that you can notify your internal staff from department to department. So for example, let's say you have you're in the process of loading a custom group, right? And once your sales team goes ahead and takes their actions, and once they change the product, let's say from loading to pending, meaning pending review by your, let's say, operations team, we can automate to create a memo to your operations staff to review and take the appropriate next actions. And once they take their actions, they can change the status to a different status on that product, for example, to internal status, where it would allow your sales team to know that, hey, let's go ahead and review the booking flow to make sure that everything is in place. So these are some of the areas that we can control based on user actions. So the way the process works is, and let's go ahead and go into this tab here, is when we created these new rules in our system, as you can see now, there's basically 2 radio buttons that allows you to go ahead and take the appropriate action and set up your booking rule. The booking rule is called event, res, new, or different types of rules that we have in here. Now, all these rules are defined in our documentation. So we wrote an article, explains every single event type that we support and what is the meaning behind it. Along with that, the steps on how to go ahead and create this content, these automations to help your business to notify them. And the interaction with them is quite simple. So in this scenario, let's go ahead and create another one. When I click on plus, we're going to type in EVT, res new, and we're going to change the rule type to event. And you always want to go ahead and add a description to define it. And as you can see here, we have two options. We can click on add to queue, where you can select from a list of queues, meaning that when a new reservation is created, the system will automatically add it to a queue. Now, if you do not wish to do that, you can go ahead and click on create a memo, and based on the date type, and offset is meaning that how many days after this date type is, you can create memo or memos to multiple users. So we can say test one, and we can also tag the rule to make sure that the memo is being created during business days, meaning that if a staff took action on a Saturday, let's say, but your team is not there, the rest of the team is not there actually during the weekdays, on the weekend, sorry, we can make it so that the memo that is going to be generated is Monday through Friday. So not only that, we can also add additional layers, meaning that we can have the system create multiple memos. So we can say that, okay, let's go ahead and create one for another staff member, and then you can define the type of text you want to appear, and so on. Once you go ahead and click on save, the process will commit to it. Now, not only that, we also have ways to go ahead and add your business conditions to take action on different business rules that you may have or that you may need support with. For example, if you have a product line that requires a little bit more attention, right? We can define a product code and define that memo to be created for a specific user, right? So they can go ahead and pay attention to that product a little bit more. Or it could be based on destination or supplier or market, or even between certain booking dates or departure dates. So there are a number of ways we can go ahead and cater this options in order to help you support your business. Now, that being said, let's go ahead and get rid of this for a second. Now, when we're looking at these memos in here, oh, sorry, give me 1 second. Here we go, let's cancel out of this. And as I mentioned, right, as you can see here, we created multiple ones in order to help you with different types of filters to support those different types of memos. So that being said, that's the first type of automations that we can offer, whether it's to add your reservations to a specific queue or create memos accordingly. Now, the second of automations that Softrip offers is regarding calculations. And when it comes to calculations, we're talking about what your deposit amount is due for a specific reservation, or on top of that, we can also determine your final payment dates. And again, similar to the event rules, Softrip in the next generation, we offer basically forms in here that allows you to go ahead and determine your own business rules in regards to what type of deposit and how much to charge for them. So in the past, this has been very text-heavy formatting, but we made it easier so that way you can go ahead and determine your own business rules accordingly. So again, the process is going to be very similar. You click on the plus sign, you type in the rule area, and the form appears, and you can go ahead and define all the fields that you need to define. So let's go ahead, in this case, we'll do $100 deposit for one person. And you can go ahead and layer these with different types of conditions too, right? So if I'm requiring a $100 deposit during the booking process, right, I can make it so that if I do book travel insurance, for example, I would like to collect 100% of those deposit, on top of the deposit, the insurance premium. In addition to this, you can also add date conditions to determine the final payment date to be here too. So while you're doing this, you can say that, okay, in this case, at 60 days or less to the departure date, I would like to collect 100% of the payment as needed. Now, when we're going through this process again, right, and we can go ahead and layer all these forms in here, as you can see, we can again add different filters and markets and product codes, suppliers, customers, and brands that's based on your needs. For example, in this case, our general policy in this case is $500, but if anybody was to book, let's say, a market that is associated with Greece, right, we require $1,000. And if they were to book a specific product code, we require $750 deposit. So that being said, again, this information can be updated and controlled accordingly. And a similar format happens when we come to the final payment dates too. So we have a way to go ahead and calculate these final payment dates to determine that similar format again, where you have slew of options to go through and pick and choose your types of departure dates and some calculations and values. And you can add also additional conditions if you wanted to make it as simple or as complicated as you would like. And again, the same principle applies with the filters. You can apply the appropriate filters accordingly. Now, of course, in support of our documentation, we do also have an article when it comes to deposits and final payment dates, where we give a number of examples and details on how this formatting works. So we'll be delivering this also to you guys following our session. Okay. So the next type of automation we can offer, and we're going to give a little bit more details on this, is regarding some of the content that we are able to push in different locations of our system, right? So when it comes to content, it's most of the time some sort of a verbiage that you want to appear either on your invoice or travel documents or your quote letters. It could be your product landing page or reservations notification. And again, the same principle applies when it comes to applying the appropriate filters accordingly. Now, what's a little bit different here is that this content could be also HTML heavy as well. So a few samples that I'm going to provide on this webinar, for example, is one of them is called the travel tips. So in this regard, let's go ahead and move this a little bit. So for example, I went ahead and created a travel tip rule in the system, which is also has HTML editable, as you can see here. And I am able to insert an image into this HTML editor with some light HTML content to be updated. Now, that being said, on top of that, we can go ahead and apply these filters again, whether this content needs to be, for example, in the travel tips section, right? Which you want this content to appear if somebody was to book this product code, for example. Now, on top of that, we do have a filter here if you wanted to go ahead and choose to have this content display on the web or on the documents also. So if we're looking at, there are two travel tips here. So I can separate the type of text that I want to appear. I can have one set of text to appear on a document versus another set of text and maybe an image to appear on your landing page. So in order to kind of demonstrate this to you, I have pulled up, for example, a travel documents, right? So in the travel documents, we have the general travel tips coming, but because this reservation has booked this product code, the system was automatically able to pull that unique rule. And on top of that, if we're looking at our landing page for this 7-day Ireland, right, best of Ireland 7 days, we are able to go ahead and push this content automatically to appear also on the product landing page, where, as you can see, the image that I had uploaded and the text that I have uploaded is part of this landing page right now. And the other type of rule that we can push from a content point of view is also when it comes to some of the warnings that we offer, right? So this is a good old standard on request service warning, right? And we have different areas too of different type of warnings that we can offer to appear on your reservation or invoice. Um, so that being said, for example, in this scenario, if a reservation has a service on request, right, we are able to go ahead and put this as a warning sign on the reservation to notify your users and the end user, let's say the passenger, when they log in, to notify them that there's a service on request. In addition to this, based on this rule, right, I can determine it to be whether I want it to appear not only on the reservation on the web, but also on the document. So if I choose to, I can make it so that when I'm looking at the customer invoice, that we do have a text appear to give them the warning that there's a service on request, and take the appropriate actions, the message that you want to deliver to them. Okay. So that being said, we have the content at this point, right? And then now let's talk about some of the business automations. So business automations are more about automating the information that you would like to get ahead of time from your users, right? Or it could be to send reminders to your users to warn them that, hey, your payment is coming up soon, right? And you want to go ahead and send out travel documents maybe automatically to them, right? And we can work with a lot of our customers to make sure that this content is delivered in an appropriate cadence. Now, because this is a high touch point, it would require for us to work with you in order to determine those business rules and to make sure that we're hitting the right points. So some of the examples that we have given here are set up payment reminders, as I mentioned, past due. If a payment has failed, if the client's made a payment and the credit card failed for whatever reason, maybe you need to go ahead and gather some passport information, right? Maybe you need to go ahead and you're requesting transfer details because they book transfers with you, but they don't have the flight information, right? And we have processes to give a path to your customers to be able to access their own account and fill in some of those details. So that being said, we do have an article to give you a little bit more examples of these. And we explain some of the types of automations that we offer. And if you have any requests about this, we would request that you log into our website, to our Jira support service system, to submit a request if there's any modifications that you'd like to make. All right. So that being said, the content of this webinar right now has been covered mostly, and I'm open to any questions. Okay, thank you, Mary. No questions at the moment. Okay, if you guys don't have any questions or comments at this point, oh, hold on, just as I was about to say, in addition to memos and adding to queue, how about send email option? The anonymous attendee had submitted a question. In addition to memos and adding to queue, how about sending email option? Can you please clarify about that? Meaning, is this email option to internal staff? Okay. Okay, so if it is to send out an email to the internal staff, currently we don't have a process. The only question here then is, yes, once you add it to the queue, the email notification will be sent to your customers. So Roy Hayes asked the question, I saw the HTML could display images on the web. Can it also display images on the document as well as text? That depends that depends, Roy. We'll have to talk to our engineering team. In some areas, we can't support that. It may require some customizations for that content to appear on the type of documents that you have. Now, just one thing that I should mention is when it comes to the contents also, we need to be, even though we have some of these rules in the system, as long as you have out of the box Softrip documents, that content will appear accordingly. But if you have made some changes to our original reports or our invoices or travel documents, they may need a little bit of a review to make sure that we are able to pull that type of content. Anonymous attendee, in the booking rules setup, only had 2 radio buttons for function. Yes, internal staff. Yes, so anonymous attendee, there are only 2 options on this section in these rules here. And the radio option is to either add the reservation to a queue to notify your customers, or we can go ahead and create a memo for your staff to take action on. And this would be a memo against the reservation that we need to take an action on. So Mike Nadeau asked the question, in any payment rules, is final payment always understood to be paid in full package gross? Is there any setting to set final payment to net, gross minus the agency commission? It's a good question, Mike. I have to get back to you on that one. I have to double check on something before I commit to an answer on that. So I will definitely take this answer. I will provide you the answer accordingly. You're welcome. Okay. Okay, so Izzy actually asked, Izzy Kamani, are there any plans for digitally signed forms in the near future, like passenger agreement forms? That is something that we have to check with our product roadmap, and I will review that and check it and get back to you on that, Izzy. But that is a common request that we have received. Hey, really great questions. Okay. All right, folks. Since there are no more questions immediately, I'm going to go ahead and end this webinar today. Thank you all for joining. If you have any questions, please do email me. You have my email address as follows, oakman@softrip.com. I'd be happy to answer any follow-up questions you have, and we will be sending out a link for the recording and also the link to the articles we have written. So thanks again for joining. Appreciate your time. Have a wonderful day.